Today on NewsWatch, will President Trump tackle the tough issues with China's leader as the two prepare to meet for the first time? Plus, students called dreamers and how Trump policy can influence their future. And find out how Candace Cameron Bure responded to people lashing out after someone called her a homophobic Republican. Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Mark Martin. Today's meeting between President Trump and the President of China has been called a blind date with global ramifications. The two men may have never met, but they have a lot to talk about. Dale Hurd has the story.
There's no mystery over what will be on the agenda when the leaders of the U.S. and China meet for the first time today at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. North Korea will be one. On Wednesday, the nation known as the Hermit Kingdom launched another medium-range ballistic missile.
North Korea, we have a big problem. We have somebody that is not doing the right thing, and that's going to be my responsibility.
Clearly, Trump would like to see China putting more pressure on North Korea. As you know, China would like to see the U.S. opening direct negotiations with North Korea.
And the other big issue on the agenda is trade. Trump has already tweeted that the U.S. can no longer have massive trade deficits with China.
And then you've got a long list of issues of common concern, all the way from the South China Sea to Taiwan.
And in another foreign policy challenge, the chemical weapons attack that killed at least 72 people in Syria seems to have changed President Trump's perception of the war there and the Russian-backed Assad regime. Before becoming president, Trump had said Syria is not our problem. But now he says
that attack on children yesterday had a big impact on me. Big impact. My attitude toward Syria and Assad has changed very much.
At an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council, Russia continued to deny that the Syrian government was behind it. And the Syrian foreign minister said today his country never used and will not use chemical weapons in Syria. But U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley said the facts were undeniable.
There are times in the life of states that we are compelled to take our own action.
But President Trump was non-committal over whether the U.S. would take action over the attack and told reporters if he were, he's certainly not going to tell them. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
It's down to the wire. Tomorrow, the Senate will decide whether to advance Judge Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court. Democrats are not budging, and Republicans are calling a political foul. White House correspondent Jennifer Wishon explains.
It looks like Republicans will have to go nuclear, or at the very least, get creative if they want to fulfill their promise to put Neil Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. Democrats are unwavering in their resistance, employing tactics like long, dramatic speeches on the Senate floor.
This is an extreme nominee from the far right who doesn't believe in the fundamental vision of we the people and makes decision after decision through tortured, twisted, contrived arguments to find for the powerful over the people.
Counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, tells CBN News Democrats are playing political games with Gorsuch, despite his first-rate qualifications.
We're talking about Neil Gorsuch, an appellate judge in the U.S. Circuit Court whose academic credentials, judicial temperament, and judicial record are beyond reproach.
The American Bar Association gave Gorsuch its highest possible rating. Now, conservatives are asking if Democrats will go after a nominee as qualified as Judge Gorsuch, then who will they accept from President Trump's list of potential nominees?
What's unprecedented here in the 228-year history of the institution of the United States Senate is a partisan filibuster. It's very, very unfortunate.
A number of Democrats now against Gorsuch were first for him. Those who were in the Senate in 2006 when President George W. Bush nominated Gorsuch to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, and he was confirmed unanimously. Despite the political games, Republicans say they're not deterred. Conway says the president knows his commitment to appoint a nominee with fidelity to the Constitution is one of the reasons evangelicals supported him in record numbers.
Neil Gorsuch is qualified. He will be confirmed. He will sit on the United States Supreme Court very soon. We are confident in that.
We'll all find out Friday. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, the White House.
President Donald Trump removed Chief Strategist Steve Bannon from the National Security Council. A federal registry memo published Wednesday no longer lists Bannon as a member of the high-ranking committee. Bannon's addition to the NSC sparked concerns from Trump critics who said it was inappropriate for the political advisor to play a role on national security matters. A bill that aims to protect religious expression in Florida's public schools passed the state's House of Representatives. Lawmakers were hugging and applauding after the bill passed, and many see it as a win for religious freedom. House Bill 303 allows students and staff in the state's public schools to participate in student-led prayer. It also bars school districts from discriminating against students, parents, and school personnel on the basis of religious expression. The measure is in response to the tightening of free speech rights in schools, including the banning of religious jewelry like cross necklaces. Charges against a Christian student at Florida's Rollins College have been dropped. An Orange County, Florida 9th Circuit Court clerk confirmed to CBN News that a judge dismissed the case after the professor voluntarily dropped her charge against the student. Muslim professor Arij Zufari had an injunction against student Marshall Polston after they were at odds over alleged anti-Christian comments she made. He told CBN News in an earlier interview that he is concerned about her alleged ideology and connections.
This professor has radical ties and radical links. And of course, there's a campaign now to get this professor removed from Rollins and hopefully other academic institutions if she's going to continue with this agenda, which is really an agenda of indoctrination.
CBN News has been unable to reach Zufari for comment. However, Rollins College said in a letter that evidence showed Polston had been aggressive, disrespectful, and at times vulgar in his communications with faculty, staff, and students. It's no secret that China's strict two-child policy has ended countless unborn babies' lives through forced abortions. President Trump is trying to stop that by cutting funds to the United Nations Population Fund. The group helps fund these forced abortions in China. President of the Liberty Council, Matt Staver, applauded Trump's decision, saying this latest action by the Trump administration is a positive step as we strive to eliminate the funding of human genocide in America and internationally. The funding cut means China will miss out on millions of abortion dollars. Kellyanne Conway, senior counselor to President Trump, tells CBN News that the White House has great concerns about the role former National Security Advisor Susan Rice may have played in unmasking and possibly leaking intelligence on Trump transition officials. She made the comments while appearing on Brody and Browder, CBN's Facebook Live political show. The House Intelligence Committee reportedly wants Rice to testify about what she knows. At first, she said she knew nothing about any intelligence being collected on those working on the Trump transition, but then she said nothing was improperly done, raising questions about what she may or may not know.
What's the reaction there at the White House, Kellyanne? You believe her?
Saw that Ms. Rice yesterday in an interview really led to more questions than she answered. She seemed to not be able to answer or not willing to be able to answer specific questions about any role she may have had, and we'll leave it to those in Congress to decide whether or not they would like to speak with her. I know some have publicly expressed an interest in doing so, but we have great concerns about the continual possibility of incidental collection on innocent Americans and possible surveillance.
You can see David and Jenna's full interview with Kellyanne Conway by going to our website at cbnnews.com. A controversy of biblical proportions is turning one of the United Kingdom's annual Easter egg hunts into one nasty egg fight. Chocolate maker Cadbury and the National Trust have omitted the word Easter from the marketing campaign for their big annual egg hunt. It's a move that has many Christians upset, including British Prime Minister Theresa May.
I'm not just a vicar's daughter, I'm a member of the National Trust as well. I think the stance they've taken is absolutely ridiculous, and I don't know what they're thinking about, frankly. Easter's very important. It's important to me. It's a very important festival for the Christian faith, for millions across the world. So I think what the National Trust is doing is frankly just ridiculous.
The National Trust and Cadbury say the whole issue is just a big misunderstanding. The Trust has since updated its website to include the word Easter on a page advertising the event. Coming up, young undocumented immigrant students called dreamers. Brought to the U.S. by their parents, what's next for them as their futures are tied to America's immigration policy debate? Welcome back. They're called the Dreamers, the young illegal immigrants who came into the U.S. before their 16th birthday. President Obama gave them temporary protection, and their future now depends on what President Trump will do. Abigail Robertson brings us that story.
Almost 5 years ago, President Barack Obama drastically changed the lives of millions of young, undocumented immigrants.
Effective immediately, the Department of Homeland Security is taking steps to lift the shadow of deportation from these young people.
The Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, or DACA, provided immigrants like Gibran Juarez the chance to explore opportunities.
When I heard about the DACA program, I was ecstatic.
That's because life has been anything but easy for him. Since Gibran came to the U.S. at just 3 months of age, he hasn't enjoyed the same freedom as his 2 younger siblings who were born here. Gibran didn't know he wasn't an American citizen until he was 16 and learned he wouldn't be able to accept scholarship offers to play soccer in college.
I would see the letters and I would say thank you. And I would write the coaches back. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for scouting me. Unfortunately, I would have to reject and decline.
On top of that, he couldn't get a driver's license or a job, making his future uncertain.
I just had to stay positive. There has to be something else.
Then came DACA, which provided eligible recipients a work permit, driver's license, and social security number. Gibran made the most of it, graduating college with a nutrition degree and getting a job at an elementary school teaching PE.
My emphasis was pretty much make America healthy again.
Still, recipients must pay around $500 every 2 years to renew their application. And many say there's no easy path to citizenship. Juan Carlos Cerda got a glimpse of life without DACA status when a technical issue delayed his renewal. Although he reapplied months in advance, the mix-up kept him from teaching his kindergarten class for 5 weeks.
I had to be away from my students. I wasn't allowed to volunteer. I didn't know what was going on with the school, whether I'd be going back to my job once I got my work permit.
Eventually, the error was fixed, and Juan Carlos returned to his classroom. The Yale graduate went into teaching to give something back to his childhood community.
I envisioned myself just being able to give kids from this community chances to be able to play soccer at school, to be able to have the chance to go to a university one day like Yale.
Gibran told me he's very grateful for the program, but constantly worries about the uncertainty in the country he calls home.
There's always fear if it might go away. Without DACA, where do we go? It's like we vanished in society.
During the presidential campaign, Donald Trump hinted at eliminating the program, yet seems to have changed his mind.
It's a very, very tough subject. We are going to deal with DACA with heart.
Republican Congressman Carlos Curbelo believes his bill, the Recognizing America's Children Act, can be that heart. It would provide a pathway to citizenship for those like Gibran and Juan Carlos, who came to the U.S. as children.
What we want to do is recognize these young people, many of whom came to this country at an age where they don't even remember their countries of origin. They didn't break any laws. They were brought with their families to this country. They went to school with our own kids, grew up in our schools, speaking English, and today they just want to be recognized as America's children, which is exactly what they are.
Curbelo says this bill would give those young people an opportunity to make it official.
They have to be productive. They have to be people in good moral standing. They have to obtain a college degree or serve in the military or have a valid work permit and be actively contributing to our economy. If they can check one of those boxes, they can earn a path to full American citizenship.
Curbelo hopes the president will agree if the bill makes it to his desk.
President Trump, he has the opportunity to become a hero for these young people and to do the right thing by encouraging this kind of legislation. And hopefully we here in the Congress do the right thing by sending it to him.
This statue is called the Guardian of the Dreamers in honor of the many DACA recipients who hope their future is secure here in America. Reporting from Dallas, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Christian actress Candace Cameron Bure is making headlines with her response to a Twitter attack. That story's still ahead. And up next, how a group of rappers is making a world of difference for children living halfway around the globe. Thanks for staying with us. Fuller House actress Candace Cameron Bure's response to a popular drag queen's public name-calling went viral last week. Roy Haylock, also known as Bianca Del Rio, is a well-known drag queen who targeted Bure on Instagram last week, calling her a homophobic Republican. Instead of lashing out, Bure said, "I'm not homophobic, and it's always sad when people think otherwise. Loving Jesus doesn't mean I hate gay people or anyone. I hope next time you'll spread love and kindness even when you disagree with people." This is not the first time Bure has had to defend her Christian faith. She spoke out on The View in support for the Christian Oregon bakers who were ordered to pay a fine for not baking a cake for a gay wedding. Bure doesn't comment on LGBT issues often, but when she does, she tries to reflect the love of Christ. Good for her. Rappers often get a bad rap with the perception of lavish lifestyles and how they can sometimes have a negative impact on our culture. However, one group of rappers is changing that with an amazing project that helps orphans. Ephraim Graham has the story from Studio 5.
This is just a snapshot of a trip that changed the way these rappers see the world.
Take me to South Africa. You visit South Africa, what happens?
In Pretoria, we were able to go to an orphan care center that Curious Global Education set up. It's a ministry we partnered with. At this orphan care center in this little area was the biggest township in the world, Soshanguve, a small community in that township. They've set up an orphan care center at one primary school where about 136 kids come after school every day that are either single or double orphaned. One or both parents dead because of HIV/AIDS.
When the children leave the care center, many face a dangerous journey home and the constant threat of sex trafficking, abuse, and abandonment.
We asked Marsha and Jenny, who run the orphan care center, what's next? They said, we really need a safe house for these kids. So when they're in crisis, when in a very volatile situation, they've got somewhere to go where they know they're going to be protected.
The groups made it their mission to produce an album to raise awareness and money for the Safe House.
So how much is needed to make this happen? Where do you stand?
In our currency, it's about $100,000. In their currency, it's about 1.2 million.
A big goal calls for some big talent.
Is anybody gonna take on that call and say we're gonna show the world that he lives through us, amen?
We caught up with members of the Renaissance music movement at one of their fundraising events, featuring Grammy Award-winning artist KJ Scriven.
What brings you here tonight? There is talk of a safe house, and I imagine that's part of the reason you said yes to this invitation.
Absolutely.
Why do you think that's important?
I'm really, really big on the Great Commandment and the Great Commission. To love God with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love my neighbor as I love myself. Mm-hmm. And so the safe house and what it stands for, I was willing to stop what I was doing to be here for that, because if it happens to one kid, if one kid gets caught up in sex trafficking and we can help with one, that's enough.
It's about a family that he wants to restore and bring back together again so that we can be salt and light in this world, in this dark, crazy world, amen.
Boy, that's great to see those rappers reaching out to orphans in need. We'll be right back with more of CBN NewsWatch. There's a food company in Washington that's mixing politics with popcorn. You can find a range of flavors from congressional cheddar to Capitol caramel, or if you prefer one of their bold flavors, you could go with the Trump mix. Here's Juan Garcia and Jenna Browder with a new social segment we're calling DC Dish.
Hey guys, well here's the scoop. They are the premier popcorn experts of Washington, D.C.
And my favorite part is that they mix a little bit of the Beltway into all their creations.
Let's go put a little pop in our day.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi there.
Hey guys, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Wonderful, I'm so glad you guys are here. Welcome to Pop Republic.
All right, show us how it's done.
You got it, let's go. All right guys, we're in the production kitchen of Pop Republic here in Alexandria, Virginia. We're doing chocolate covered popcorn today. We're also doing America's favorite, and we're doing some cheddar popcorn as well. The one thing I tell all my employees is that when you're here, eat. Eat as much popcorn as you want, because that's the #1 way to assure that we're putting out a quality product. Every election cycle, we will come up with mixes. And if you become president, there's a mix named after you. #1 bestseller is the Obama mix, which is a mix of caramel and cheddar mixed together in the same bag. Trump mix is actually the congressional cheddar mixed with the Blitzer's Blazing Buffalo. So it's kind of the bold and brash, if you will. We got about, I would say, 20 different flavors. We went ahead and put together a couple here for you. We got the Trump mix.
Ooh, that's bold.
Yeah.
Trump is bold.
Definitely.
We scored a big time one.
We scored bigly.
Hey now.
I think I'm gonna come back. Mom and I have a fry date planned, so.
I like your thinking. This guy.
Makes you hungry on this Thursday. Well, that's it for now on CBN NewsWatch. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care about most at cbnnews.com. And tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here. You can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. Or talk to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.